So my presentation is titled "Oh the Times That Were," my tweet by Snoop Dogg. How about them 20s though? Hashtag 300. Because the Roaring 20s were the time of the Harlem Renaissance, and it was a time of intellectual prosperity for the African Americans. What are we going to learn today? We're going to learn about the Harlem Renaissance and how Ralph Ellison used the powerful force of literature to truly illuminate the time period and give it a deeper meaning. So Ralph Ellison was born April 1st, 1914 in Oklahoma City. His father died when he was only 3 years old. He attended Tuskegee University. He moved to New York City in the late 1930s to pursue a career in writing. He became a managing publisher for the Negro Quarterly when he was there in New York. He was a merchant marine cook during World War II, and he would pass away on April 16th in 1994. So a little background for the Harlem Renaissance. African Americans first flocked there following the Civil War in pursuit of higher education and more job opportunities. This took place during the Roaring 20s. It gave the African Americans a new cultural and intellectual identity, both literature and the arts. Many partook in the Communist Party, the African Americans, and Ralph Ellison portrays this through something called the Brotherhood. And his main character, the narrator, who's nameless, he takes part in the Brotherhood, and that becomes an integral part of the story. It's also foreshadowed the civil rights movement that would take place later in the century, and other important authors of this time include W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, Jesse Fawcett, and Claude McKay. These are just some examples of Harlem Renaissance art. The one farthest to the left is called Dreams. We can take a look at it. The one to the right of that is called Female Labor. And the one farthest to the right is panel 1 from his Migration series. And his Migration series was what he was most famous for, as it described how the African Americans flocked to New York City. As you can tell, or not just New York City, we got Chicago and St. Louis as well. So other like big cities, and as they would pursue jobs. So post-Harlem Renaissance, it came to an end with the Great Depression, and most significant was the Harlem Riot of 1935. There's some footage of that. Could you click play? There's no audio. Broken glass everywhere. And there is the newspaper front cover of that day. And that was the first of the significant Harlem riots. There'd be another one in 1943, and there'd be another one sometime in the 60s, but post-Harlem Renaissance, this was the most significant of the Harlem riots. So Invisible Man. Invisible Man is told as a narrative, and the narrator is nameless, as I mentioned before. It begins during the narrator's adolescence, and it shows the rise and fall of him as well as the Harlem Renaissance. The strong political influence that of the Communist Party, known as Brotherhood in the story, as I mentioned before, with their strong Marxist beliefs. And this book would go on to win the National Book Award in 1953 and the Ansfield Wolf Special Achievement Award in 1992. So here's my research paper from my literary criticism. He was praised for relevance to the time period, as John Corey said that this book was Moby Dick of the racial crisis. And some say his imagery was too strong, and his focus on cruelty drowned out the development of his characters. And this was by Irving Howe, and Irving Howe had multiple reviews of this piece of literature, and In one, he claimed that the imagery was too strong, but in another one, he would praise him, and down there it says, no other writer has captured so much of the hidden gloom and surface gaiety of Negro life. So this was a very impactful novel for the time period that it was written in. And my thesis for my research paper was Ralph Ellison gives the reader an intense experience through his riveting novel, Invisible Man, in which he depicts the life of a nameless narrator growing up living in Harlem during the early 20th century. So in AP Open question 1, my prompt was how the cultural, physical, or geographical surroundings shape psychological or moral traits in a character and illuminate the meaning of the work as a whole. So my thesis for that was Ellison uses the setting of early 1900s Harlem to mold the narrator's personality and add complexity to the text by introducing the theme of hard work through use of literary devices. And that's specifically referring to the way the story progresses is he receives a full ride to Tuskegee University, and it gets taken away from him because he goes out with one of his professors and something goes wrong. He ends up losing his admission rights and he gets sent off to New York City. And he's living off of someone else when he gets approached by the Brotherhood, and the Brotherhood gives him a chance to support himself, start making money, and that is where the theme of hard work is infused in the text. So my prose passages, I just put both my theses on the same slide. So for the first one, Ellison structures his text to employ descriptive diction and dense sensory details to illustrate the narrator's struggle and the humility of his character. And let's go to the next one. Thesis, Ellison illustrates the novel from the narrator's perspective through utilizing varied sentence structure and lucid imagery, adding complexity to the text. So here's my poem, The Negro Speaks Rivers by Langston Hughes. It was a very influential poem at the time. I'll read it. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood and human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its mighty bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. So the prompt that I chose was read the following poem carefully, then write a cohesive essay in which you show how the language of each stanza reveals the perceptions and feelings of the speaker. And so in that poem, there's a lot of repetition between stanzas, and each stanza revealed what the author Hughes was trying to say in his poem. So my thesis was Hughes' message in his poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, is gilded, but through gradual disclosure from stanza to stanza, along with the use of literary devices including repetition, the message becomes more clear. So I have a quiz for you guys. Got some Jolly Ranchers. What decade did the Harlem Renaissance take place?
The 20s.
Bang.
Good catch.
What was the series of paintings that Jacob Lawrence was most famous for?
The Migration.
Yeah. And there's one more. In what year was the infamous Harlem Riot, the first of the Harlem Riots?
1939.
There you go. That was a bad one. So, I think that's the last one. All right. Anyone else want these?